welcoming yarn expert Clara Parks back to share Yarn Spotlight segments with us and talk more about just what yarn is, how to use it, all that good stuff. So welcome back, Clara.
Thank you, Winnie. I'm happy to be here.
So today we're talking all about yarns that are made in America, not just made in America, grown in America, et cetera, and they're carrying on a long textile tradition.
Yeah, sheep to skein. We have a very rich textile tradition. And what's really cool about what I brought to you today is one of the earliest areas in the colonies where we established mills and set up a textile tradition was in the region of New England. So areas around Rhode Island, Massachusetts, what's now New Hampshire. Well, I have a yarn here spun from the town of Harrisville, New Hampshire, which is itself a National Historic Landmark.
The whole town?
The whole town was, yes, it was declared a National Historic Landmark because it's the last surviving 18th century textile village that is still a complete textile village.
So, and what does that encompass? I mean, what does that mean? That
encompasses scouring, carding, preparing all the fibers, dyeing, spinning, skeining, and bringing us these yarns.
Everything that needs to be done to the wool to make it into yarn.
Yes.
Wow. So what are kind of the characteristics of this particular yarn, would you say?
This is called woolen spun. And it's one of the older...
The style of spinning.
It's a style of spinning, and it's there are two different ways that you can go. The two roads in spinning are woolen or worsted. And woolen spinning is kind of the first step toward making any yarn, because you align all the fibers, you put them through this huge carding machine. It's like a giant circus calliope thing. And it has all these cylinders with teeth on them, and they're aligning the fibers. It's sort of like brushing your hair with a soft bristle brush, just like a real quick. It sort of brings them into general order. From there, the fibers are stripped off into very thin strips of continuous fibers and then spun. And what you get is this delightfully jumbled, generally cohesive, but it's got fantastic bounce to it because the fibers are going every which way. The majority of them are going lengthwise, but you've got a lot that are sticking out in different ways, and it gives you a lot of air. It gives you tremendous elasticity. What I love about this kind of yarn is that you can go up or down 1 or 2 needle sizes, no problem whatsoever.
And tell me the difference between these two swatches.
That's the other lovely thing about woolen spun yarns. When you knit them at first, this one is unwashed. See how the edge curls up? This is the like non-photo shoot ready. This is realistically what you get. But when you put them in a warm soapy bath, and all those fibers relax and spread out and get to know one another, and they fill in all the nooks and crannies, and they bloom into place, and it's like baking yeasted bread dough. You end up with this gorgeous, lush, plump, three-dimensional piece of fabric.
Soft, very fuzzy, and I love how the texture, textured stitches sort of fade out a little bit. There's that blurry kind of quality to them. Oh, how lovely. And then here we've got a couple of different sort of yarns that are also made in America, but that feel very different.
Yeah, so here we travel to the west. Again, I mean, these fibers the sheep grew on the western rangelands. This is another example. In this case, it's been turned into a plied yarn. This is a 3-ply yarn. Still has some of that bounce to it, but it's, the fibers are smoother before they've been twisted together, so that you get clearer stitch definition, but still a nice, pleasant plumpness to it. And again, another sort of fantastic for everyday sort of wear. Great 3D stitch definition. You want to do cables, seed stitch, moss stitch, anything like that. And by virtue of being 3 plies, each time you add a ply, your yarn gets stronger. So this would be a better wearing for like everyday rugged kind of sweaters.
And how about this green yarn over here, if you pull it in a little closer?
This green yarn here, this is an example of a more recent mill that also serves New England. Vermont and that whole area of New England, they collect fleeces from neighboring sheep farms and they spin it. It's a cooperative effort. Really why we care about spinning in America is because it's all part of a very large chain. You can't raise sheep without having a mill to send their fiber to. And if it's too expensive, if it's prohibitively expensive to ship or the exchange rates aren't right, they're just not going to do it and they won't be able to keep raising the sheep. And when you drive through the countryside and look out your window, you're not going to see sheep dotting the hillsides.
Well, so it's a good thing. Wow, very literally from sheep all the way to sweater.
That's right.
Right here in the USA. Thanks so much, Clara.